Joystick Show.
How's it, everybody? And just so you know, we're the Joystick Show, your three favorite friends just hanging it out, talking about things we've either watched, read, or played. We're going to share our shtick with you, so mahalos for sticking around. I'm your co-host, Drake. That is Thomas.
What up, what up?
And that man is Scott.
How's it?
And the introductions have now concluded. On to the short intermission where we talk about liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas,
Yeah.
It's been a while. Scott, it's been a while since we've done the
transition.
Joystick Show. So, what do we have on the menu for the time that we're here?
Yeah, man. I'm still in the sling. Not happy about it. Still have a big head. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah.
For your brain.
For my brains. Yeah, that's not why. Anyways, we got MCU news. The Hollywood Reporter was and wrote an article based on a new book that I'm currently reading called The Reign of Marvel. We'll get into some of those details. There is a live action Gargoyles that was just announced. We have new images of Avatar: The Last Airbender we'll briefly talk about. Spider-Man 2 comes out this week, and then we are going to wrap it up with two quick reviews. We have Gen V episode 4 and 5, which I don't think we've talked about, and the premiere of Loki episodes 1 and 2. Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. Okay, so you guys, have you heard about some of the MCU news that dropped this past week?
Yes.
A really good friend talked about it a little bit earlier today.
Oh yeah, who was it? And what did he say?
Mm-hmm. He's a cool dude.
Dang.
You probably like him.
Yeah.
He said that Daredevil
who?
is going to be
First,
his name is
Well, I don't know if you know him.
yeah, he's
We can talk
William
about
Craig
it
the Eighth.
okay,
That's him.
yeah,
Yep.
sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's a Thomas too, but you know we
I think he went to our school.
same
Okay,
high
so
school.
same name, same school.
Mhm.
Yeah, same island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lives, you know, likes to rep San Diego.
He's got a
Fuck
big
you
head.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, yes, we were talking about it a little bit offline, and it's been interesting, right? Because I think over the last few years, well, at least since COVID, we've gotten all these new Marvel shows, and some of them I've really liked, and some I've only really liked things about them. And other than that, it really hasn't been that great all around. And finally, from this book that just released, written by, I don't know why I said that before I looked it up, Joanna Robinson and Andrew Cascino, a book called The Reign of Marvel Studios. It's been really interesting, man. It's a really interesting book, but Joanna was saying that she's been doing research behind the scenes of Marvel Studios for the last 10 years. And it starts from the beginning of like how we even got to the point of having a Marvel Studios, how we get to the point of Kevin Feige getting to the place he is in the position he's in, to the cast, to where they're currently at within the world. And all of this news, I think, kind of broke because we found out that Daredevil Born Again, which was a new show promised for Disney Plus, starring Charlie Cox from the original Netflix show and Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin in the Netflix show, basically that they saw, by they, I mean the executives at Marvel, saw the first 8 or 9 episodes of the show and were like, this is complete shit. We have to start all over again. And then from there, fired the writers, fired some of the higher ups or the people working on the movie. And we're like, okay, we're starting from scratch. And so I think that was kind of the bust or like the burst in the pipe that kind of opened up the dam. And it's just been like a crazy kind of whirlwind of a week of all the behind the scenes at Marvel and them ultimately saying like, we need to change our approach for how we look at Marvel TV shows because what we're doing right now ain't it. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, if it makes for better Marvel content going forward, I'm all about it. I think we can agree, like, there are certain shows that we kind of liked, and there's other ones that just didn't hold up to what was maybe promised to us or to everyone, how they pitched it. But like, for instance, Daredevil, like the way they made Daredevil and She-Hulk, it seemed like he was going like a little soft. If they rewrite and everything, I'd love to see a more Netflix leaning style of Daredevil. If that means that for us, then yeah, I'm for it. And it'd get us like more excited for the movies, because even the movies haven't been like up to par.
Fair. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Drake?
I was thinking about it in the same sense of like the Star Wars franchise. And I had thought to myself, like, oh, they're kind of like you had the word you mentioned a little bit earlier was pruning the situation of bad episodes, because they were kind of treated like you talked about earlier, movies where they had a director kind of fully take over the project when there is obviously less oversight from the main man Feige, right? So in terms of that pruning, Star Wars had kind of done that, but you had mentioned that it's not so much kind of taking newer stances on already their IP, but kind of helping the bad things become important things.
Yeah. I think Star Wars is a great comparison. The difference that I noticed between Star Wars and Marvel, well, actually, let me talk about how they're similar as far as Disney Plus goes. For a lot of the shows that we got for Star Wars or Marvel, they felt like a 6-episode movie, or a movie that was chopped up into 6 episodes. And we're talking about like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Boba Fett, some of the Mandalorian. Like some of these things really did feel like, okay, they're just trying to, they made a movie and they were like, all right, we're just going to dice it up into 6 even parts and say, here you go, here's your season of a show. And
even throw in filler to make it stretch.
And I think
feel less
absolutely.
special.
And I think the Mandalorian actually had some of the filler. That's what made it felt more to me like a TV show, and it was good. I mean, I love the Mandalorian. I have no complaints. And even on the Marvel side, like there's sometimes it worked for me. And one of them, like WandaVision. WandaVision really worked. There was a lot of I liked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like I even went back and I've watched it recently, or this year at least, just because it's like, I don't know, there was just a lot I liked about it. But when you really look at that show, I do agree with a lot of people. It could have been a movie. If it was just in 1 2-hour movie, it would have made just as much sense as if you just chopped it up. And the problem when you chop up a movie into 6 parts is that when an episode ends or begins in some ways, sometimes it's just like, wait, that's a really weird place to stop it or start it. Or it seems like there's things that are just keep repeating. And maybe it makes sense in a movie, but for a show, when you come to something every week, all of a sudden you're getting the same crap you just got last week. Like that doesn't necessarily work. And, but anyways, I think because of that, Marvel and Star Wars, owned by Disney, has had that problem. Now, I think Marvel has been so lucky because what they built with the MCU was incredible. And as incredible as it was, and as much hard work was put into it, and as much talent was put into it, they were getting pretty damn lucky. They were flying by their seat of their pants to make Iron Man, to make Thor. And then, originally it was supposed to be Iron Man, Hulk, and Ant-Man were like the first 3 movies that they were going to make. And they leveraged all the money they could get to try to make 4 movies. And luckily, like the first 2 movies kind of hit. It was Iron Man, and then it was Edward Norton's Hulk. And they did pretty decent. But Marvel now, with the size it is and how big the universe has become starting from 2008 to now, is too big to fly by the seat of the pants and just quote unquote figure it out. And so when you look at a show like She-Hulk, where they hired a writer like Jessica Gao, who came from Rick and Morty, I guess, Scott? Is that where she came from?
I believe that's
she was saying Marvel basically, like the head writer was almost like the showrunner and was like, okay, you write it and then we'll hire some random director and then they'll just put it together. But she was like, it was so messed up that I was in the beginning, passing on the director. They didn't know where to take it. Then I had to come back in and kind of finish it off. And that's not typically how Hollywood works for shows. And like we take for granted so much that movie and TV, there's a different process in making it. And our best shows usually follow the formula. The formula was have a showrunner, have like a team around that showrunner who writes and then produces it and then hires actors and then, writes it out for longer periods of time. And, again, all these things that the WGA was fighting for and yada, yada, but there's a lot of different moving parts in it, and it's a different series of events than a movie. So I think that we learned a lot. I think Marvel learned a lot from this process. And I think it was really big of like the studio in general to say, hey, what we're doing isn't working. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to follow this plan or this system that Hollywood's built out over decades. And we need to like implement it for our properties, which I genuinely think is a positive thing. So that was like the first thing that I think that came out of that article. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah, it can't be worse than it already is. So,
and for, I mean, again, I want to just throw it out there. Like, I don't think it's bad. I liked
Drake's never liked Marvel.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, actually, would
like.
you have if you had to pick any show, Drake, that we've had to watch in the last couple of years, what would be your favorite?
In the MCU realm, man. You know what automatically came to me? I was like Black Widow, but that was a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So very similarly, obviously, how it's cut. But I would probably say Falcon and Winter Soldier is the one that stands out to me the most.
Okay. What about Moon Knight?
Moon Knight, I mean, now that I'm remembering it, it seems a lot more fantastical and more like, to me, like Sandman, kind of like an adjacent thing. It was obviously in the same universe, but it felt like its own thing.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Scott? Favorite MCU show?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, now that you said Moon Knight, I kind of forgot about it, but that was a really good show.
Case in point. When was the last time you could ever say you forgot something from the MCU? But yeah, I hear people say that all the time.
It's just like a lot of, it's just like a lot.
Yeah. Volume.
And yeah, and it's easy to like, when there's more okay than really good, sometimes you just kind of, there's just too much to like remember everything.
Exactly.
WandaVision was really good. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember, I don't know if it was because of the first show or what, but if I remember correctly, it was still like really strong cast, like still like they're great actors. I really enjoyed that. And now that Loki's back, like I did like Loki, and I'm enjoying this season too. Like I love the aesthetic and the characters and the world they have in that. Yeah. Because Loki, we'll get into it, but he's not the Loki we see in every other movie. He's like, he's still Loki. But
yeah, I mean, he's
not using his powers as much, and he's kind of has to like adapt and like solve things differently.
Exactly. Cool. It's like the Loki we saw at the end of Avengers. Like that's the Loki we're following now. It's not the Loki we got to Endgame and everything, but yeah. So that was number one. Another big thing that they told us was that a hint was that at the end of Secret Wars, which anybody who's ever read any of the comics knows, Secret Wars was a massive mashup originally in the 80s of all the popular superheroes and all the popular villains ending up on one planet and then being in an all-out war. That was massive. They did it again in the early 2000s with Jonathan Hickman. But they were saying that at the end of that movie, they're going to reset the MCU as we know. So basically, we're talking about new casts, new stories. Like maybe we get stories of Iron Man that we've never heard, new stories of Captain America. We're not getting Chris Evans. We're getting, again, a whole new cast. Maybe they introduce it with the X-Men. Maybe they introduce Fantastic Four there the whole time. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a good way to keep the IP fresh, to say we have a multiverse and we can just keep doing it with new characters, and it's just a different stream of the same shit you love and buy into already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that, like, how many different Spider-Mans and Batman have we got? And how many have I loved? Like, all of them?
Yeah.
Even George Clooney?
I feel like...
Duh.
Yeah,
Nipples.
I mean, dude, when that came out and whatever year we were then, like, I was... What were we, elementary or some shit?
I think so.
99.
Dude, like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age, shit. Like, I didn't think about it as, like, it wasn't as dumb as it was then. Like, then it was awesome. Yeah. Like, fucking Mr. Freeze is on screen freezing people. Like, and then their eyes are still moving like a cartoon. Like, I don't know. At the time, it was cool. Looking back, I guess it's silly, but all the movies we got at the age I was at was pretty much
Perfect.
the greatest. Yeah. In the same sense, I hope there isn't too much like superhero fatigue by the time they reboot everything. It seems like people kind of already over it. So much so that even like hardcore fans are like, yeah, I'm kind of done. And like if the fans are feeling that way, then like regular folk are for sure feeling that way, right? Like, so it's kind of scary. Like, I don't, how far out is Secret Wars?
Secret Wars, I think they had it projected for like 2026 or like 2028.
Yeah, so it's like, I really hope if they're waiting to do like Fantastic Four and X-Men, like after that, like I hope everyone hangs on and they, I mean, hopefully it gets
Fantastic
better.
Four will definitely
but if it doesn't, and they're,
then. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But like X-Men, I fucking want to see a good X-Men.
Yeah.
And like, I'd hate for them to be like, dude, everyone's over it. We never got to it. Let's pack up. Well, maybe in another 20 years. You know, I'm like, that'd be such a fucking shame.
Yep.
I have a feeling X-Men is going to be phenomenal. And it's because that's where Kevin Feige, like, what do they call it? Like, cut his teeth. We wouldn't have the MCU we have today if not for X-Men the animated series. We wouldn't have the MCU we know today without the original X-Men movie, which he became like an assistant producer on and became the master of the comics, where he was feeding comics like Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry and all these people to like get them up to speed on who their characters were and what they were motivated about. So I know it's near and dear to his heart. And if he's still in charge of the MCU, I have a feeling he's going to be personally invested in it. But
yeah, that's another thing too. If he's still in charge, I hope he is. Like,
has to be.
I hope like the right people are still there.
Sure.
You know, by the time it comes out, not like, oh, you know, this young guy, he's kind of likes it too, so he'll probably do a good job. Like, I want him to do it. Like, well, let's get X-Men now, dude.
yeah.
Let's fucking go hard right now, and then get everyone back.
Are our expectations too high?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it is for sure. For the X-Men, no doubt. I mean, I've been reading all the comics that you guys know, like since the starting at like 2019, and I'm now in 2020. But this era, like the Krakoan era of the X-Men, is phenomenal. It's so fucking good, and it makes everything from the past relevant still and interesting. I think my expectations have always been through the roof as far as like the X-Men goes, but man, I'm just always still happy to see them. I mean, I watched every movie. I was one of those people that watched New Mutants and didn't hate it. You know, I watched The Dark Phoenix. I didn't hate that movie either. So, it probably is, but I think if the properties start becoming better again, where everything has a certain level of quality that everybody can agree on, like, no, that was pretty good. I think Marvel will be fine. You know, it only started slipping I won't even say post No Way Home. Not even because people were always like Endgame, everything's like stopped being good. It's like, no, like No Way Home was great. WandaVision was great. Loki was great. So it's not that it stopped at Endgame. I think it's some reason, and I think during COVID and everything, shit fell apart. And I think if they can kind of bring it back to before COVID production, it could be fine.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Reign of Marvel. It's a great book. Let me know if you guys pick it up. Let me know what you think. And thinking about doing maybe like a solo thing, just kind of recapping the book and some of like the crazy highlights. So if you're interested in that, let us know in the reviews or comments on social media. All right, another thing from our childhood, we are getting a live action Gargoyles.
Ooh!
Were you guys a fan of Gargoyles growing up?
Yeah, duh.
Yeah. Gargoyles was awesome.
Gargoyles awesome. It's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but for older people.
Yeah. I buy that a little bit.
Not had prototypical character archetypes, right? And then like they work together as a team, but they're all kind of individual. There was a lady gargoyle up in there. It was all encompassing.
Yeah. It's true. When you break it down to those very simple facts, you are right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched it recently for Challenge Accepted, and God, that show is still so fucking good. It really is. Like, it still holds up. Like, the animation isn't as smooth as it used to be, but the level of storytelling that they were doing, it was not for kids. Like, it was so ahead of its time. And hearing about it in live action is just so, oh my God, I'm so happy about that.
It's got to be dark and broody.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Wait, but what's it all? It was always a Disney property.
Yeah,
Like
I think it was always Disney's property.
I thought it was just on ABC, like ABC's.
well, Disney owns.
Like I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think Disney
used to own
was in charge of.
Oh, you mean like they just?
Yeah,
acquired
you're
it,
right.
Actually,
Because I always thought of Gargoyles like not as Disney for me. Like I guess in that same thing of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I like lumped it into like all that like Batman animated series, Spider-Man animated series. Like it just felt like one of the guys, you know, like not anything like, oh, this is wild Disney, you know.
That's a good point. I don't know if it was
like strangely
originally
really good.
produced by a Disney company, but yeah, I think it's more to Drake's point is that they ended up buying the property. And so, yeah, you can go watch it on Disney Plus right now in its entirety. And I think it's only like 3 seasons. It wasn't even that long.
Dude, it's crazy to think back on like some of these cartoons and like there weren't always a lot of episodes, but it felt like I had years of them.
yeah.
Like, like they were there all my life.
Well, some things
weren't.
back then were 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, they'd have a new episode on like a specific day because there wasn't always the every week.
Well, I guess because they had that Saturday morning lineups and all that stuff. So I'm sure they like. There's only so many slots you can put in, so they're like, okay, I get it every week.
Well, don't you remember like waking up Saturday or like trying to watch like Cartoon Network and you thought the new episode of like Dragon Ball Z was gonna come on, but it happened to be like a rerun.
Yeah, or it was like
it was
5-episode filler of Dragon Ball. You come on and then you're like, yes, they're finally gonna fight, and then it's just Frieza and Goku talking like the whole episode, and then you have to wait until next Thursday. He does the same thing. Yeah, there was just so much filler.
Though I swear some of those cartoons, it was like an after school like WB Kids or something. I had to like you like change to a certain channel, and then I think I was catching them as reruns, but like they do it weekly, so it was like consistent.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, it felt like there was so much more when we were younger too. I mean, there's still a good amount of episodes. And actually, the guy who created the cartoon back when we were growing up, Greg Weisman, is actually now writing the comics. And the comics are phenomenal too. And so I've been collecting them now as well. And the cover art, oh my God, so fucking cool. But Goliath's back, Brooklyn, Bronx, all that crew is still there. And Hudson.
Sick.
And my question for you guys is, how do you think this works in live action? Because they said that's the way it's going. And the person in charge of it is James Wan, who is directing the first directed the first Aquaman, but also Aquaman and Lost Kingdom.
Well,
dude, that could be cool. James Wan is like known for his like horror, like right and like dark design. Like monsters look cool. Like, if you look back to Aquaman, like those creatures from the deep, the Mariana Trench were like freaking awesome looking. So I'm sure if anyone can make the Gargoyles look sick, he would be like up there with like a Snyder or something to like make sure some like things look cool. You know, I got my faith in that. That's
definitely cool. I think in terms of how you could do it, because I think you would definitely want to do practical effects, so you could have like them in suits that are pretty good, and then you could CG in like the wings or certain things because CG is so good now.
You think they're gonna go like live action or I guess practical some of it and then CGI the rest? Because my thought was like when I first thought, I was trying to imagine what it would look like in CG or in the show live action, and I was like, they must be doing like the Hulk, the Hulk from the Avengers, like. But I'm assuming they're going to do it really well. Not like She-Hulk, but like regular Hulk. I don't know. I feel like they're probably going to go that route.
I just wonder what the budget would be like, though. It's like because they're like 5 or 6 Hulks.
That's true. That is true.
I wonder if they do like a mixture of like how they did like a Hellboy.
Kind of like what Drake is saying. So like part practical, part CGI. But they're supposed to be like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, they're only getting better with blending.
I don't know.
Ooh.
Camera angles.
You're employing a lot
Tom
of
Cruise
small
isn't that tall.
The opposite of that. A bunch of retired NBA players.
Yeah. So you're just using like Kevin Webb, or I guess Kevin Wembanyama is kind of new, but
him for sure.
Would you have like Shaq as one of the Gargoyles? Hey, we're Gargoyle.
Maybe I can't think of which one it would be.
Yeah,
the Gargoyles are ripped.
The one that looks like Shaq. It's like who just looks like Shaq.
It's a Shaq Gargoyle. He's on the top of the LA Staples Center.
Yeah.
I mean, funny. He's just a gargoyle from another building. It's just Shaq. Like, are you just Shaq? Nah, dude. I'm Gargoyle Shack.
Like,
they made me on the Shack.
are you a
building.
Celtics fan? I'm more of a Lakers.
That'd be hilarious. I don't ever go to Boston.
Yeah, so anyways, I'm super stoked about it. It looks really freaking good. I can't wait for that. And there's not that much news about it. It was just announced, so can't wait to find out even more. All right, something that dropped today too that was really freaking cool, and I was super impressed because there was some side-by-side shots. And I think we all dug this anime. I know there's like some controversy around calling it that, but it is an American anime, and it's called Avatar: The Last Airbender. And we're did you guys see those photos?
Nice. I did. They look good. I think I'm like pretty much 100% on board with all of them, except for the look of like one of them, which I'm sure great actress, but like Azula, the lady they have there, she doesn't look like a bitch.
Yeah,
like Azula was drawn in a way where like I fucking hated her as soon as I saw her.
That's true.
But like Azula, like she looks like a nice person. I'm sure she'll be mean, but I hope it's not like when we watched The Last of Us and I had that problem with that one lady.
Yeah,
who was, like, trying to
Kathy
take charge,
or Kathleen,
and I just couldn't.
Yeah, the actress's name is Lizzie Yu.
Yeah. I hope she does good though. You know, like it's just in that picture, she just looks nice, and I'm like, I don't see you being Azula. It looks like his younger sister.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She does look kind of like sweet.
She's like,
so
like she gets all A's.
Sweet lady.
I don't know about that. You got to go to her page, but she just looks like a nice person.
I don't know what grade. She just looks nice.
Oh, okay.
Azula looks like a stone cold.
Yeah, I know. She did. She just had that attitude. Like she was always
like Megan Fox.
Yeah, kind of like Megan Fox in New Girl when she first gets introduced to the group.
Yeah.
But like, you know how she was just kind of like a badass bee from the beginning, right? And I don't get that vibe from her. Which I agree with you. The rest of the cast though looks phenomenal. The guy Zuko looks dope. Yeah. I think Zuko looks great. Ong, we were seeing Ong for a long time. He looks like spot on. Katara looks spot on.
The grandpa.
So freaking
Uncle Iroh.
Yeah, but it's like it's Appa. Like he's not gonna. You can't ever.
He's also a rebel pilot, man.
With Paul Sun Hung Lee. So yeah, he can't miss for me. I feel like I love that guy no matter what he does, and I doubt. And in fact, not even doubt. Like I have no doubt that he's going to be an awesome Uncle Iroh. He looks like he can balance the sternness with like the gentleness, with the like wisdom, with the jovialness. He's gonna be great.
Yeah, great word, jovial. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good word to describe
our comics. So.
Oh wow! Yeah. Level up on the vocabulary.
A little bit.
+2.
So excited about that. I think Netflix is dropping Netflix Geeked, that presentation middle of November. I think we'll get a release date for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action version for Netflix, around that time. So this Friday, October 20th, we are getting part 2 to an amazing game. One of my favorites, Spider-Man 2.
Spider who?
Spider-Man 2.
Spider dude.
Spider-Man. Mr. Spider-Man.
Mr. Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh man, it is pre-downloaded.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Mine is too.
Ready to be unlocked and played.
Wow.
Mine is
I'm excited.
I cannot wait. I'm going back and I've been playing through Miles Morales. I'm like halfway done right now. Even Miles Morales was such a great game, but
for sure. Man, shoot, I remember we got our PS5s and like, sorry for anyone who doesn't have PS5. You should. But and we got our PS5s with some Miles Morales, and it's just like the graphics is like insane. You're playing Spider-Man, doing cool shit. Like, I can't wait to experience that again. You know, with double Spider-Man gliding, just new mechanics. Like,
I mean, and you can switch between the characters in world at any time.
Oh wow, it's like GTA.
Exactly. And they I think it was Game Ranks, they timed it in between switches, and it's like 1.3 seconds between switching from Miles to Peter.
So you're just like, I'm shooting webs, different place.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly that.
Yeah.
That's what they had in mind.
I guess.
I think that's how they pitched it, and they're like, "Say no more,
Say
we
less.
got-
Yeah.
Here's $2 billion.
Say less,
Make
fam.
this.
Don't cap.
Yeah,
Yeah, but man, everything that's coming out looks fantastic. IGN gave it an 8, which is good, I guess, for IGN. I think it's kind of BS. Game Ranks is like, almost like 10 out of 10. They were like, this game is phenomenal, one of the best. They're like, even the first Spider-Man was great. Miles Morales was even better. This is even better than that. And so I'm pumped. They said that it definitely feels different between Peter and Miles. Like, they feel like two uniquely different characters. The enemies are cool.
That's sick.
There's bigger bads in this one than Miles Morales. Man,
Crossover from different Marvel characters? Question mark.
not sure. Because in Miles Morales, like in the Miles Morales game, you can go to Avengers Tower.
Oh.
yeah. That's right.
So
But we get Venom, right? In this
yes,
one.
we do get Venom.
Carnage.
I
don't
think
know
they
about Carnage,
first
but-
have to introduce
Venom's
Venom
a big
before they can
Yeah,
get there.
I love to
Yeah.
see Carnage though in Spider-Man games, man. Remember Spider-Man Carnage,
Woody Harrelson?
Nintendo SNES?
Yeah, Kobe had that
was a
game. We used to
great
go over his
game,
house and
dude.
play
You
it.
could be all the different
Yeah.
Carnages
Yeah, that's
or the different symbiotes.
Carnage,
Okay,
Scream,
sorry.
Riot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one guy.
All right, so it
Little
looks
Carnage.
fantastic.
Junior.
Steven.
There's like all new mechanics in it
CJ.
and physics in it and stuff. It looks awesome. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Same.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to say. Like, I think there's probably other video game places if you want all the details, but I think we'll probably talk about it more as we get it this week.
Mhm.
All right, let's get into reviews. Who wants to kick off Gen V episode 4 and 5 because we weren't able to talk about it last week?
Go ahead, Scott.
I feel like, do you guys not remember or?
I just watched 5 today, and I'm having trouble remembering.
Yeah.
4. Like I remember the big parts, but I'm like,
Well, we could just talk about it generally, what
all
we
the things
thought
that-
about these last couple episodes, because I don't remember everything that happened. I think the general
Okay.
gist is this, though. God, you police are appealing for witnesses to find the person who vandalized the polarity statue, the genital area, and in front of an anti-crime unit. So yeah, I guess that's a terrible description. Thanks, Yahoo.
That's terrible. So what happened? Big things are happening where they find out that
Oh, is that Tech Knight?
Golden Boy's
Was
brother.
Tech Knight
Huh?
episode 4? Tech Knight, the
a cool
interview
name.
guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the guy
yes,
who's like
that's what it was.
that
Oh my
episode
god,
4.
this
Tell me
episode
about his
so
powers.
good.
What's his powers, real quick? He sounds cool. I didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
Holy
like
shit.
Psych.
Yeah, he's like Psych, but like
he has
he's like
powers.
Matt Murdock, but he can see. So he can see like when somebody's like, their veins are popping out. He's like, ooh, elevated heart rate. He's like, oh, I can see sweat
Yeah.
forming on your forehead. You must be nervous. Oh, and
His smell is like crazy good. It was like creepy.
He's like, you
Whoa,
must be
so
on
he's
your
like
period. Or like, you're going to be
he
on your
was
period. soon.
yeah, or he's like, oh, how long have you been?
he was deducing
like,
things
eating out
immediately.
cake?
Eating her
or like
whole.
just like ridiculous, like yeah, or something. Yeah, and
You
I'm like,
gotta watch it, Drake.
being
You would
recorded?
love it.
it's so weird.
Yeah,
this
dude,
world.
because it sounds
what they
like
allow, but-
what they do with Sherlock, where he's being hyper perceptive.
Yes.
and he's deducing things quite quickly.
Yeah, he is, but everyone hates him. It's because he has like a TV show, and he's like, I go in and I break the case, and it's like he doesn't really work for the cops. He's just like outs people on TV,
Yeah.
and then he's like popular. So like everyone hates when he comes in, but people who don't really know him, like, oh, I love the show. So he's a super douchebag.
He's kind of like To Catch a
Um,
Predator, like Dateline host, except for powers, and he can just like ruin your life. And
and he'll spin it to make it.
He's
for
the
good television, too,
since
so
the
it's
other
like-
ones are all about other things that like people go through. His is canceling.
well, so that's not all. His other big
Ooh.
thing is in the comics,
His penis.
his character
Oh.
was called Tech Knight and literally was like a technical knight. It was a play between Iron Man and Batman. And it was supposed to be a spoof off that, like The Boys does. And you find out through the voice process,
makes
sorry,
sense.
spoiler alert for anybody who wants to read the comics. In the comics, he, on a mission, looks at one of his fellow superheroes' butts and tries to like rape it. And
What?
yes.
How do you do that?
And then I don't know, I didn't read the comics, but he then starts becoming obsessed with any type of hole. And I'm not talking about like people holes too, like any type of hole.
Just a hole.
Trees, the things that you dry your hands with, animals, like cups, anything he can put his wiener in. And throughout the episode, he's constantly mentioning the word holes. So like, there's a part where he's like trying to he's interviewing Andre, and he's like, "How long have you been eating Golden Boy's girlfriend's hole?" And like, so he like keeps saying things like that. And so he's obsessed with it. In the comics, it turns out, and I think in the show, he has a tumor that's being pressed against his brain, and that forces him to be obsessed with like trying to bang all these different holes in whatever.
Sick.
Does it also give him his power? Like,
I don't think it
also, because they hinted at some reason, like there's a reason he doesn't want to get treated.
I don't know if,
or he just enjoys the hole, so he doesn't want to treat it.
I don't know. I know it doesn't have to do with his powers, because in the comics he was like that Iron Man Batman guy, and he made suits, and that was his power. But I mean, he's just a born suit like the rest of the heroes, quote unquote heroes that we have in this universe.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that. I'd have to go back and watch that part. But so that whole time they're trying to avoid him. And meanwhile, in this episode, there is a character named Rufus, who his powers is if you're close enough, he literally can like roofie you. And so Marie gets, she goes to him for help, thinking that his powers is to like find people. He roofies her, ends up in his room, and he's pretty much naked in a robe, like standing over her. She wakes up, and he comes towards her naked, and she kind of like freaks out and explodes his dick.
Yeah. It's like rushes all the blood to it, like more into it.
Yeah, James first bar, and it explodes that shit. So so there's that part of it. And they're finally at the point where they're meeting Golden Boy's brother. He's kind of escaped. You can slowly start seeing him lose it. And for some reason, he has this delusion where he sees everybody like puppets, kind of like Sesame Street puppets. And you can see him slowly start talking to the guy who is with the puppets and everything, and nobody else can hear him because Emma, Little Cricket, is chatting with him too. And she's like, "Hey, are you talking to somebody?" And he's like, them, but, and it kind of gets pushed away basically. And he goes to kill the scientist who's been experimenting on. And all of the heroes, the young heroes, show up, like Andre, Marie, Emma, and Kate. And at the end, we find out that Emma, not only does she have the power to shrink if she purges herself, she also has the power to grow if she like gorges herself in food. So she turns into like giant woman and is able to like hold him down and talk him down. And then they all black out and they wake up and they're in some room and the episode ends.
Wow.
Yep. So then episode 5 starts, and then they wake up with this thing. It's on Andre. Kate's draped over him, and this like goo is dripping from the ceiling onto his forehead, and it looks like they basically like passed out at a rager. Like somebody just threw like a massive house party and they like passed out. And then everybody starts getting together and they're like, "Oh man, that must have been some crazy party. That was wild." And then they start like, "Man, what's the last thing you remember?" And for all of them, it was days ago. So then the whole episode becomes, who did this to us? I think it's this person. And then why did they do it to us? And it's not this person. Then who did it? And when you find out by the end.
Yep.
Wow. That's aggressive.
It was a heavy
It was
episode.
It was
definitely a heavy episode, but so good. So good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definite highlight of that episode is when the brother sees all the dudes attacking him.
Oh my god, yeah.
And you see he turns to a puppet, everyone's a puppet, and then it's like these puppets getting murdered, like puppet arms being ripped off, and it's like confetti pops out, and he's just jamming puppet arms in the puppets' mouths and ripping puppet brains apart
squishing
and
the
like,
head so that brains are like squirting out through the top. They're like people online were saying it was like a top 3 The Boys fight. They're like, it was so
it was so
imaginative,
cool.
so inventive, like so over the top. And he's getting attacked by all these soldiers who are like, he escaped the woods, that underground prison, and we got to go get him. And one guy's like, I'm a single dad, I have 2 kids, blah. And then he's just like tearing this guy in half as a puppet, though.
Yeah, he just rips his jaw off his face.
But you're getting the real life dialogue as if this is, it's like just real people. It was wild. And then, of course, it ends and he's just standing with all these bodies just torn apart and he's covered in blood. And you're like, man, whatever goes on in his head is messed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of giving those vibes with Stabler. Stabler had that one show where
Happy.
Kind of yeah.
Happy,
yeah. Totally.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. So God, this show, it's delivered on so many levels. The characters are all so amazing. Their acting is incredible. Like there's not like one bad casting for me. I think they're all super damn good. The writing is fantastic, just like The Boys, but just better because these kids want to be good for the most part. And then you get, I almost don't even want to ruin it for you, Drake. Like I want to just watch episode 5 because there's a character that we've been following and it's not who you think, or her motivations aren't what you think, and it's devastating to the team or they're not even like, it's so weird because they're kind of friends but kind of not friends still, but they're becoming friends,
yeah, they're kind of a team but not really a team.
Yep So gosh, man, I love this show so much. I think The Boys just continues to be, the Gen V continues to be the best, other than maybe like season 1 of The Boys. It continues to be like the best, like out of that property.
Yeah,
so good.
Also, they kind of like just like browse over it. Like, so the Rufus guy's dick got blown off.
Right.
He's still at school.
I know, and he's still like running around. And
does he have a friend that like regrows appendages for people and he got his dick
That's what
back?
I
like,
assumed.
They don't even talk about it's not like he has a dick cast or you know what I mean, like or
dick
something
cast.
like he's just fucking walking around talking to people like normal and then full up sprinting away from people when he's being chased. It's like, your dick doesn't hurt, like you can sprint, like what's going on here? I was
wondering that the whole time.
About this?
I was like, how does his crotch just not writhe in pain like all the damn time? I have no idea. They even kind of like Marie gets with Jordan also, and that kind of like is kind of a thing, but it's so quickly like moved past in a way. Like that relationship I thought was really interesting. I really liked what they're doing with that because it's unique.
I think they're gonna go back to it because in the Emma was saying like after Marie was saying like what Jordan said, like, oh, she just said we're cool, and then she's like, did you say anything? And then like she's kind of making Marie realize like, dude, stop, just shut up, get out of your head.
Yeah.
And then I think they're gonna.
And Jordan's doing the same thing. It's like, they're doing the do they like me or do they not like me kind of dance and trying to figure it out, but they're coming at it from different sides. And Jordan ends up talking to Translucent's son, who's the RA, who in the episode 4, Drake,
such a creep.
Sorry, spoiler alert on this one. As Andre and them wake up from the room, a llama comes by and there's a leash, and attached to the end of the leash is the translucent kid. What you see is hat and glasses and a ball gag in his mouth. And he just gets pulled into a room.
Dang.
I don't know. I feel like that llama is like a kid that just is like a beast boy.
Right? Yeah, because he was calling her slow.
Because I'm like, there's no way a llama's just walking around the school. It was like in the house.
At the school. And he's like, slow, wait.
But it's always a llama when you see him. Yeah, he's like, oh man, she's pissed at me. Like,
llama.
Like it's just always a llama.
Wow.
So it just goes there on some pretty crazy places. Man,
and he admits to like hiding in the male and female locker rooms and masturbating to them. He's like, sometimes I masturbate to the women, sometimes I masturbate to the men, man. You're just into it.
Yeah.
She's like, that's fucking
he's like
creepy.
Simultaneously a great RA and like the worst RA ever.
Wow. Okay.
I feel like, man, this universe, like, there are people that are just total pieces of shit walking around. Like, it's like a normal thing. Yeah. Just like, just doing the most horrendous things.
I know. It makes me wonder, because there would definitely be those people in real life, but it makes me wonder, like, what I would be like if I had if I was a soup. Like what, how would I be? Would I just be like a complete piece of shit too? Where, like, I don't know, in line for food or something at a fast food restaurant, I just like cut everybody off because I'm like a soup. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like in this world though, it seems like everything is like kind of exaggerated, even the horrific things.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just like kind of like the meter of like, oh, this is normal is like pushed in like the more horrible lens of the world. And it's like, fuck, everyone's fucked up. Like he's just casually talking about like peeping on people. That dude just fucking holes. And it's just like, you want me to tell people you fuck holes? And like anyone can see him. He's like fucking a tree. He's fucking a bucket. He's like, how does he not get caught at this point?
Well, his dick must be like
crazy.
Made of tougher material if he can fuck trees.
I don't think so.
I don't know, man.
He just tries to put his dick in the tree.
Man, you gotta watch it, Dre. It's such
okay.
Because there's a little montage of him.
Yeah, there is, and that's how she went. But the way he can also like manipulate people and everybody's afraid of him is so interesting too. Because you think he's gonna take down the dean and he's gonna take down Marie, and we also find out that Marie is like protected by some big benefactor, and we don't really know who it is. They never say who it is. My assumption is it is Giancarlo Esposito's character from The Boys season 2, I think. That's who I had to get. Edgar something, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. Like I don't know who else it would be, but for him to have like a soup who can control blood, which everybody has, seems pretty dominant.
He reminds me, the character talk about reminds me. So Thrawn, the guy who plays Thrawn, was also the final boss in the 3rd season of Sherlock.
Yeah.
And the reason why he was so powerful was because he knew everything about everyone, all the dirt. So that's why everybody was afraid of him. So to have a character so powerful like that, but not necessarily have like the Homelander availability of ability, it's more mind based, but not necessarily psychic. That's interesting. So I'm definitely gonna watch that.
Yeah, I think you'll like both.
And like going back to like Marie and her blood, like she could kill like. If harnessed, like she could kill, they could use her as a weapon and like give people strokes, aneurysms. They wouldn't even know it's her. True. Like that'd be even better than people's heads exploding, Like it'd just be like more like just under the radar. That person's just assassinated. Just
that's so true.
Like it's crazy. Wow. And that's just in the sense of her killing. Like there could be a bunch of different things she could do that. Like, because they even mentioned, right? Like she hasn't tapped into her full potential. I think that's why that guy wants to dissect her
exactly.
too.
And he wants to like use her to make like this weapon to kill the soups, right? But also like she didn't even know she could explode that guy's dick. So
so she can control blood flow and other people's bodies, and
she also could tell that when she was like, Emma's like, when am I getting my period again? She's like, seriously, and she's like, seriously, I forgot, right?
Yeah,
and she's
next
like,
Friday.
In like a couple days. Or whatever it was, right? It's like she can even tell when that's happening. She could tell that her blood was clotting underneath the skin.
Yeah, and she found that sensor, like, and then she could feel it on other people. That was clear.
Yeah, she's like total blood manipulation. And when you like extrapolate it out, or you like look at all the different ways you could use that power, it's pretty OP.
Yeah. Well, I guess unless there's a being who doesn't have blood? Are there characters
like Jellyfish Man or something?
I guess.
Like I'm like trying to think of
maybe Iceman, because if he can be Sub-Zero, his blood would be frozen.
Oh yeah,
tension ability, frozen blood potentially.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna.
Well, Iceman, he just turns into solid ice or like just water. So like I don't.
Interesting.
There's like nothing in there but water.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work. That would be an interesting question. We haven't had that character yet in The Boys. I'm assuming there's a character like that, but yeah, it's getting kind of weird, but also just great. And like the plot keeps thickening, and as they answer questions, like more questions come up. And I love shows that do that. But the cast, again, I just can't like say enough good things about them. I feel like everybody is so fucking strong in this show. Like every character is so strong, and their motivations are clear, or if it's not, that is the point of them trying to figure things out, or it's like purposely to throw you off. It's so good. I don't know. Where's this show ranking for you guys for the year, or I guess if that's too grand in the terms of The Boys.
For me, having watched what I watched, I think the Boys was great to establish the world, but I feel like I'm more interested in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just based on like the storytelling, the characters, they were able to take a concept and kind of evolve it into something that's not necessarily better, but just like for me more entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. It's super gripping. It is really, really interesting.
Yeah. Gen V is definitely turned into something I like more than I thought I was gonna like. It feels like just in a complete extension of The Boys.
Yeah.
Like it definitely feels like The Boys universe. It's giving me that feel that I get from The Boys. It's cool to see a different group of people on a different drive, just a different thing that they're trying to get to. But it's also like keeping that same mystery of like who's pulling all the strings for like both parties, you know, like who's this higher up, and it's probably the same higher up, because they're still touching on like this scientist is trying to create a thing to like totally control supers, so no matter what, like even Homelander, they'd be able to like, I guess, like I don't know whether it's like a kill switch or it's like a mind control. I don't know what it is.
They haven't made it clear.
It's just a thing to keep them in line. Even
I was wondering.
But it's cool how close it
Totally,
is.
because he said virus, so it's like, I don't know if is it to kill, is it to control? Yeah, I don't know, but either way, it's not good for all the soups that we know.
Yeah.
So love it.
And they're still introducing new powers, which is a huge thing for me with anything superpower related. I love to see, because there's so many of that over the years. I like to see when they keep it unique and they're like, oh, that's like a power I've never seen before or used that way or told that way before. So I'm always looking forward to that. And like with the dude who came in with like kind of the Daredevil psych powers, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like it's kind of if you put it on a list of powers, it would seem like maybe a kind of weak power, but used in the right way, it's like
ultimate,
totally manipulative. And then also I didn't know he was that in the comics. If you could apply that to being like a Batman, Iron Man, like that could be fucking sick too. Like that's crazy. They find these ways
to make simple stuff like that really intense or really scary or and funny enough, we talked about it before, like the blood manipulation, I've only seen it one other place, and it was Avatar: The Last Airbender, which we just mentioned earlier. So crazy. But Gen V continues to be great. Oh, man, I don't know where this season even ends. I can't even predict it. Normally I have like certain predictions about things. I just have like no predictions. I'm just so happy to go along for the ride because it's crazy.
Same.
Yeah. Where every episode starts is definitely not where it ends, but yet it's still so freaking good. Oh man, it's fantastic. All right, let's get into Loki, because we weren't able to talk about this last week, but Loki season 2 is back, and we got the premiere last week for episode 1. We got to meet Aurora Boris, I think, in episode 1, and then we got episode 2 that just dropped last Thursday. Oh, man, I'm loving this show. It is so good to have it back. It feels like it's picked up. I mean, because it literally has picked up right where the last season left off, which I love that. The acting is still fantastic. It's still the same characters. The adventure continues. And one problem, like, it always feels like there's suspense and action, and it's leading to something really big. And I felt that way about Ahsoka as how I feel about this season for Loki. I really feel like this is Marvel teeing up something that's going to be really big for the franchise in the future. And I continue to feel that way, especially now after episode 2. What do you guys think about Loki so far?
Yeah, no. I would say I fucking hate. No, I love it. It's a very nice change of pace. I think it does something that Gen V does, which is take something familiar and turn it slightly so it doesn't feel too obscure. You're still following the characters you love. You're getting additional characters that add on to the characters and bring out kind of different aspects of our characters what you see now. So you see a lot more growth, I think, from Loki season 1 to season 2, just in character development, dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. And they were able to kind of bring back some tropes from the first season as well too, to kind of help keep it not linear, but like in sync and like
consistent
callbacks. Yeah. So from a entertainment standpoint, I think it's still very enthralling. There's enough of a because we kind of know what's going to happen to an extent, but there's enough of a thriller cliffhanger at the end of each episode to kind of keep us looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, definitely. In that way, it feels more like TV than, like we talked about before, than like a movie just chopped up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm loving this. Again, the cast is crazy. Even the new characters they bringing in, like I'm like loving Ouroboros. However you say his name. His character. Well, Obi. Like it's so great. His like interaction with freaking Owen Wilson, hilarious. Like the whole like, oh yeah, how are the guys? What guys?
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, it's just me.
That was
like like that whole like
scene.
It's very Owen Wilson, and I love it. I love the aesthetic of like the TVA. It's still like great. It feels like a movie. Like I know we talked about movies being chopped up. This for me, it feels like a TV show, but like movie quality.
Yeah.
Like I love the TVA. I love like how it like old school meets like high tech. Mm-hmm. It is like when he Loki's trapping that guy in that box. It's like looks like a big oversized vacuum of some sort. But he's like everything's great. And it, like you were saying, it does feel like it's leading up to something big. Man, this show makes me feel like this is more important than anything going on in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why this... It's like it's a good show, but like, I feel like the stakes are so high, they should put more emphasis on like how high these stakes are to like the rest of the Marvel Universe. Like, they're pruning fucking timelines.
A lot.
Like...
Yeah. Like a lot of different timelines got erased in this latest episode.
Like whatever happens here, you'd think would affect anything happening in any movie going forward.
Right.
Like it's just such high stakes.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but it's like, it's in a TV show, which I'm appreciating, but it's just kind of weird. Yeah. Like I'm like, this is like,
it's gonna be like, what's the most important Marvel show movie post Endgame? And it's gonna be like Loki season 2. And I'd be like, what? Which is like crazy to say. But I agree with you. Like sometimes I'm like, the stakes are so high. It's unbelievable that there's not more. Loki's like, I better go get the Avengers because how are we going to do this? You know what I mean? And especially now with the way episode 2 starts off, where they jump right into, what is it, like 1977 London? And it's like they can literally jump from any place at any time. And it's like, why can't he just jump, grab the Avengers, bring them back in time to He Who Remains or an opportunity to meet him and have them help, because you're right. It feels so big. It's like, how can Loki's an awesome character. Tom Hiddleston's fantastic, but it's still Loki. He's not, Tony Stark. He's not Captain America. He's not, these heroes that have saved the universe already. Like, it seems like those guys should be the ones in charge or whatever, or brought in to help this crazy stakes.
Yeah, like at least another brilliant mind to help figure out what to do next, sort of thing. Like it seems like they're just like, oh yeah, well, I wonder what's going on. Like, are these the smartest guys to like do this? Like I'm loving them though, but like they're just kind of goofballs sometimes. But I love it.
It's true.
But it's just, if you look at it in the big picture, you're like, can you call
like
it
Mobius
somebody?
Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm gonna go get a pie. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it? Like, is that the guy you want on it when it's like they have to reconnect and bring her in so that they can go on this battle? And I mean, I thought the fight was pretty cool at the end, especially the way they were using the pruning sticks and everything. But it's,
for sure.
It is interesting, like the team that's assembled. And yet I still love it because you're right. It feels like it should be bigger than the characters we're getting. Yet at the same time, I have no complaints about it. It's weird.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's literally me like taking a step back and like,
right.
But I'm excited for every episode. I'm loving all the characters I get to see on screen. It's like it's one of those things like they probably should have a different cast, but I also don't want it any other way.
Yeah,
like I love them, and it does have that little mystery of like not only like what's the big picture, how's it going to affect everything, but you're also like wondering like, questions get raised like that one dude who used to be working for the TVA. He's a big actor now.
Brad Wolf.
And then, Brad Wolf. He's a super douche or whatever. And then, but he's asking them like, you weren't always this person. Like, who were you before? And it gets them kind of questioning, kind of like the MIB. Like, who were you before you joined the TVA?
Yeah, and that's a good kind of comparison because there is a lot of like MIB-esque aspects to it. Like these agents and stuff.
The guys behind the scenes running this like thing that no one really knows about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's been great. I thought they started off the episode really, really strong. And in that first episode, it felt so stressful. It felt like there was a time crunch in a place there should be no restriction of time, right? And I loved that idea. It also kind of wrapped you into like, okay, something's happening to Loki. He can't figure it out. He has to solve this before he can get everybody on board for the bigger problem. And I thought that was cool. The only thing that I thought was interesting about that was that when you start episode 2, it all of a sudden seems like it just goes away and it's not a problem anymore. And I guess because he pulls him out of time in 1, but then if you watch the trailers, we also see that he time slips at some other point. So I don't know if it comes back, but I don't know. That kind of was a little interesting, I guess, to me. But the Obi with Mobius dialogue is incredible together. Yeah. So it's like I would have never guessed K Quan and Owen Wilson together would be so good, but it just is. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and I love him, K Quan. Like, I love his character. He's like, I wrote the book. Like, he's just like, he's so genuine, so matter of fact,
but not sarcastic.
So okay with being alone. Not sarcastic.
Just matter of fact.
Yeah, he's just
where it's like, are you being sarcastic?
He's been alone for
no, he's not. He's just being like straight up.
Yeah. And it's weird, like, it's weird that he's been alone for so long, but like also like still able to have a conversation with people. But you know what I mean? Like he's kind of a weird dude, but he's also like I don't know. Maybe he's just too close to his work. He's never thought to like leave that little place. I don't know. There's so many questions with him. I love the character.
I want to know more about him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Oh yeah, that'd be great if they did like a prequel or like a. I really enjoyed Eugene Cordero's interactions with Ke Huy Quan just because Eugene Cordero
plays Casey.
He plays Casey, and he also plays like a funny character in Tacoma Fire. Or Tacoma FD.
Okay.
And so knowing his comedic chops and like his like improv chops add that to Ke Huy Quan's kind of like quirkiness, it's a super interesting dialogue and like artistic match.
Yeah.
Mashup. I really like they're like, oh, I'm your biggest fan. Like memorize it from front to back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
he's like, can you sign my book? And then the fact that he got cut off and didn't sign it, I got a little pissed. Yeah. I'm like, let him sign the book.
I know it's like a huge fan moment, but it also made you feel like these kind of side characters have like real big not like parts in this whole ordeal. It seems like while Loki and Steve Owens is out there just doing their thing, that like Ke Huy Quan and Casey are like figuring it out.
Yeah, sorry, you said Steve Owens.
Oh, sorry.
Is that a soccer player?
Steve Owens.
I don't know. Steve Owens? Is that what Steve Owens' name is? Like
Steve Owens?
Yeah.
Steve
I was like, I couldn't get off Steve Owens.
Oh my god.
It's like, wow.
Steve Owens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Meet me at SeaWorld.
SeaWorld.
Remember he got like arrested for being on the SeaWorld sign? Never mind. Deep cut.
Yeah, he was really against. He brought his like inflatable orca up to like this giant ass crane.
Yeah, but it's been pretty great. Casey has had a bigger role than I would have expected him to have, which I think that's super sick. B-15, Hunter B-15. She was, like I said before, she's been a fantastic actress. So it's really cool that they give her a lot more, like, within episode 2 where, they're seeing all the different timelines getting pruned and they're like, it's billions and billions of people. I think someone did the math and it came out to like 2.7 trillion people, which I guess is like 2,700 billions. But
so, okay. So that's the thing too, right? I was thinking like fuck Thanos, dude. These guys are going into like places, dropping a bomb and like nuking
Right.
timelines.
Yeah,
Like,
that's worse.
how many snaps
Exactly.
are those? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's to say the one that Thanos lived in was like the one that they should
Right,
keep?
right.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, this is so
yeah, and
huge.
I think that's
Like-
good because it kind of justifies Kang as being a bigger bad. You know what I mean? Like you
That's true.
have
That's
to
a good
do
point.
something because ultimately, you know, everybody will always think the biggest bad is Thanos. And what we got in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania definitely didn't make Kang look like a villain on par with Thanos, right? I mean, he got beat by like big ants, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp like punched him into the thing, and it's like, okay, if they can do it, then anybody can do it. But
they punched him
but
to
then if
death.
you have a force that can jump into any timeline and completely erase you, your existence, and everybody around you, and everybody on that planet, and everybody in that universe's existence, that is a bigger threat. And
for sure.
yeah, I think it was a cool example. I kind of hope that the main lady we see from Game of Thrones, her name is escaping me right now.
Oh, General
Dox.
Dox.
That's
Or
what
Kate.
it is.
Casey.
I hope that we find out that General Dox's instructions have come from Kang himself to her. Because now that makes it like, oh wow,
Yeah.
like he doesn't even have to be there for him to cause this much destruction.
He has loyal followers everywhere. That's the scariest part. Is like you don't know who it could be.
Yeah, and right now they're following without even knowing. I mean, they all saw the head of one of the timekeepers on the table in episode 1, and they were still like, "No, this is our job. We're gonna do it." For no reason,
Right.
you know? It's like there's nobody even above them anymore saying you have to do this job. They're like, this is our job. This is what we do. We just punch in, we do our job, and we punch out. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So that's scary.
Yeah, that was insane when Loki like breaks the wall and he's like Kang's
Mhm.
face is behind it. I thought like because at the end of the first scene I thought he was just like in a different timeline, but it's like nah, he's just in the same timeline. They just like built around.
Yeah. So
What it
that's
was.
what's tricky about what's going on, right? It's like, so in the TVA, right, there is supposed to be no time, right? I mean, I guess you're just living the present to the future, and then that future becomes your present, right? It's interesting because they set up time travel in Endgame. And it's so ironic today, you know, we got literally, as we're recording this was the day that Tony Stark snapped and saved the whole universe, right? From Thanos.
Yeah.
And they set up in that show or that movie that if you go back to the past, that past becomes your present, and thus whatever happens in that timeline and you do, you know, going into that will be your future. So basically saying like you can't go back in time and fix something in the future. But this is saying you can go back in time like Loki talking to Kehi Kwan, and that can alter what's going on in the future. Directly, and especially in the TVA, which is so interesting and so counter to what we got in Endgame. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Also made for a very
It
cool
did.
scene.
And the way they cut back and forth, I was like, this is so everything
Yeah,
everywhere
like,
all
oh,
at once,
actually-
and it's so good.
I do
I'm
know.
like, man, is
Yeah.
Kehi Kwan just a multiversal being in his own right? Because he plays like multiversal
Yeah.
characters and movies so well. It's so good. So yeah, it's interesting. I just hope we get more clarity on how the time travel aspects really do work in it, or are we just supposed to accept it all?
Mhm.
Does what they set up in Endgame not apply to the TVA? I guess is the other question I have.
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah.
question. Do we know how many episodes we're getting?
I think
overall?
it's 6
Is
still.
it 6 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot's happened in 2 though. In 2 episodes so far, I'm liking it. What's cool too is like I think in season 1 because of COVID, there were like 1 or 2 episodes that felt COVID restricted
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people in the scene and everything. So
Yeah, it made
it's kind of cool. Like now they can do more.
totally.
hopefully,
I
you know?
think to me it made the TVA feel empty, and now this season it doesn't. Like Hunter X5 came out of nowhere. And was like, was this guy here the whole season 1? Because I don't remember him. And then it felt like there were so many more
Yeah, I
people in the office and so many more soldiers,
Mhm.
especially, you know, at the end of episode 2 where there was all these rogue agents working for Dox. It was like, who the hell are all these guys? And
Right.
who the hell are all these agents chasing Loki? It feels more full. And for how vast
Yeah, that's
the
true, yeah.
TVA is like makes more sense that there would be more people around. Yeah. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. It feels less COVID restricted, which is awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm digging it. They're like just doing some crazy time stuff. How are we feeling about the Loki and Sylvie relationship?
Hot.
Yeah, totally gonna, because they're the same person, so it's not really
Yeah.
incest. But
But it is. They have the same
yeah,
parents and
yeah.
the same DNA.
I guess that's true. They're
It's like a twin,
Yeah.
but
timeline siblings.
Timeline
That could be a
twins.
new thing.
Timeline twins.
Timeline twins.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Timeline twins. I do like kind of their back and forth. It definitely seems a lot more romantic, but then knowing Loki, it's also maybe a play on narcissism. So I think I like seeing them kind of contradict each other because it's almost like an internal battle. At the same point in time, I guess I don't know that I'd probably feel like more like, oh, this is how it's supposed to happen, where they're always constantly working together. But the fact that they are at odds makes it a lot more interesting, and I think helps justify having two separate Lokis.
Yeah. They're like on opposite ends
Yeah.
of the coin now, right? Like it feels like Sylvie's
Yeah.
more of the bad Loki and he's become more of the good Loki. Although in episode 2, that way it starts with him chasing Brad Wolf. Oh man, it felt so good to have that old Loki back for a second. You know, with the manipulation and then like using the shadows to
cool.
grab him, and then the horns come out of the shadows.
Yeah, and he was like, it's not a bit much. We're like, no ways, man. Thinking,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
fucking
And then
Loki. Like,
also he's talking in the middle one, and then he's like, I didn't think so at all. And it's like boom at the left one. Like that.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
man,
like-
that was
yeah,
so good.
that was cool.
So yeah, I
That's
love that
terrific.
we're getting some more Loki powers back. He's also like telekinetic. I don't know how I didn't realize this last time, because there's a part in season 1, episode 5, where a tower is about to fall on him, and he like reverses it and like shoots it back up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's weird. I hope they explain that. But I guess he could just do that, and then we see it even more
Oh, yeah, I forgot
in
about that.
this episode where he throws the crowbar out of his hand without even touching him. So it's like Loki is so powerful. And I forgot that he can't use his powers in the TVA, but it's nice that we're back to, he's not restricted like he was in season 1. Like this season, he can do whatever the hell he wants because they're like, you just got to get the job done. So you have to chase him down. You have to like, be different people. I forgot what he said, like manipulation, force, and entity. I don't know what he called it, but like all these crazy Loki words. And yeah, it's just cool that he's gotten those like abilities back.
And then going back to Sylvie, like I really like that actress. It's cool to see her back. The scenes they have together, great. Like even though there's not a lot physically going on, like I'm still engaged.
Yeah.
You know, she's like eating a burger, drinking a Coke, or whatever. You know, it's just like she's really good,
and it makes me want McDonald's.
It's cool.
Like,
Oh yeah, I know.
Like, I know who sponsored this
super huge.
episode.
It's just like, man, I want like McDonald's bad every time I see anything from there. And them talking about, and then I'm getting all these commercials now that it's football season. There's like new mumbo sauce and new like hot and spicy sauce. I'm like, oh my God, dude.
I saw this dude reviewing it on Instagram. I'm like,
I know.
man,
Yeah, but
it's so stupid. It's not good for you, but
McDonald's
why not?
got me, man.
But it also makes you want to try McDonald's back in the day, too.
Yeah,
Like she's eating that. I'm like, I wonder how those burgers hit.
dude,
you know?
Definitely.
Little less processed.
Yeah,
maybe.
and I feel like they,
Yeah.
seriously, it was probably so much better back then. But like the fact they called it new chicken McNuggets is hilarious because like I bet chicken nuggets were way less filled with plastic back in the 80s than they were now. Yeah, it feels like you're just eating like a bunch of the recycled straws mixed in with like chicken parts. Sorry if you like chicken nuggets. I feel like I just shit on hard.
It's one of those things like
They're good late at night.
I've literally seen videos of like, look at this pink paste. This is chicken nuggets. Like, oh man, it's chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Oh man, that's disgusting.
It's too indoctrinated.
Have me another
and
one.
I'm like,
Yeah. But McDonald's is on point. I just love it so much, and I love the tension between them. Of like, does she stay or does she leave? Is she staying because she loves him? Is there a higher purpose? What does she really want? I like that there's a mystery there for her character as well. I don't know. Did I say this on the last time? Like what my theory was for Loki and her at the end of the series?
not for this season.
What was it?
So this is my
They form into a Megazord.
yes, exactly. Boom, Power Ranger starts. No, my theory for them at the end of this season is that they find a way to defeat He Who Remains, or whatever Kang is controlling the TVA, and that they become in charge of the TVA. So that Loki and Sylvie take over, or at least one of them, if not Sylvie. And my reasoning for Sylvie was, who better, and even the Loki we know, who better to take over the TVA than people who are kind of scorned or who are like messed up by the system. If they take over the system, they know how to fix it. They also know what it's like to be a variant, to not have a home or a galaxy or a universe to go back to. And they've also like seen the inner workings of the TVA. In fact, in this latest episode, in episode 2, I mean, Sylvie even says, like the TVA is broken, it's rotten, and so she knows the rot, the bad parts about it. She can go in there and fix it and control it in a better way.
Yeah.
So. Or I guess manage it in a better way.
I think I'd like to see that, especially so we can get Loki in some movies.
Yeah. The directors have said, or I guess the head writers have said, that the goal is to get Loki back with Thor. So,
okay.
Yeah, and especially I love that idea because...
Yeah, great reunion.
Absolutely great reunion. The last time Thor saw Loki, his brother was getting killed by Thanos. And now we've gotten a new Loki who started at the same point. He's literally a branched Loki. And we've gone on these crazy adventures with him after this season's done. And what better to see is this Thor who's went on new adventures and this Loki who's went on other adventures and them come back together. And what does that relationship look like now? It's like we kind of know each other, but we kind of don't.
Yeah, I hope they start a podcast.
Yeah. It'd be like Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen's when they're twins and they try to hook each other's parents up with each other.
There you go, yeah.
Parent Trap?
Parent Trap.
Yeah.
Parent Trap. Also,
the Odin boys.
What do we think? Odin boys. The Odin days.
Odin days. Ooh, I like that.
So,
that'd be
good one.
It's a good podcast name. What do we think Mobius was before he was
Jet-ski salesman?
Christine joked that he used to. He's like, watch, he used to sell jet skis. So he like knows all about it.
Gotta be right.
But I hope he's not. Like, I mean, that could definitely explain where he's just a dude that sells jet skis and then somehow gets an opportunity to do something bigger than himself. Yeah. And then joins
or
TVA.
I think what you do is, at least this is what I would do. He's in the past. He's a jet ski salesman. He ends up trying to like sell somebody something at work and ends up like doing something that messes up a variant of Kang in his timeline. Now that variant of Kang is like, you know what? F you. I'm going to trap you in the TVA of all eternity. Wipes his brain and says, you're an agent. This is your job.
Interesting.
Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's what I would
and a
do.
nice twist.
Yeah. But
it'd be...
Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
Oh, no. I would say it'd be interesting if like the Sea-Doo was something adjacent to his character that was the goal. And then... like he has a much darker, maybe he is just this guy and his life is better in this than it was then, and the Sea-Doo is just a remnant of his old life that was actually the same, if not shittier. That'd be interesting to take as well.
Yeah, that is interesting because I really like the conversation when they're eating the key lime pie in the cafeteria thing.
In the room of key lime pie.
But that idea of like, Loki asking him, he's like, well, what if your outside life was better? Or, he was like, what if it was worse? Or like, I was the opposite, right? Like, what if, I think Loki says, oh, what if your life was worse? And he goes, well, what if it was better? Like, I don't want to know that. Yeah. Like, I don't want to know I've like been missing out on a better life. And I think that is like a crazy thought. It's like, I don't know. Do you guys ever think about what is timeline, like branch timeline Drake doing or branch timeline Scott? Like, there's a big decision in your life. You look back at it and, you went right, but in that timeline you went left. What are they doing? I don't know. It's just an interesting thought.
Well, chances are there's probably one out there doing better, and then there's one doing worse. So
for sure.
Right there in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, it's also like a good
I'm good, baby.
Perception of like, oh, if I knew I was doing better, maybe I could do better, or maybe I can strive for new things or whatever. I mean, obviously positive take, but then it could also be on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah, it could also be a negative. Why can't I be that thing?
Fucking hate it.
Oh,
Why
man.
does he get to buy bananas for only
And
48
then you're out there
cents?
trying to kill yourselves, and then you're Jet Li in the water.
Yeah,
boat.
that's where my brain went.
Or the Highlander, but
Yeah,
reverse.
Jay, you were saying something about bananas, but I couldn't hear the end. I wanna hear-
Oh, no, I was like, oh, why does this Loki get to buy bananas for only 48 cents and I gotta buy for 52?
Yeah, God forbid you
Fucking
live in the
crazy.
52
you
cent
imagine
universe.
I know.
there's a variant out there who is all about that 2% or that 2 cent
Yeah,
difference.
that petty,
There's
petty.
Yeah, the
that
most petty
one
version.
variant owns like the grocery store.
Oh, shit. It's funny. He's like, oh man, this fucking universe sucks. Gas is $9.48.
Yeah, in my universe, there's no gas. But anyways, all
Nobody
right.
farts?
Well, yeah, that's kind of all of my thoughts on the beginning of Loki. I can't wait for episode 3 this week. It's so damn good. Yeah, I know. Anything else? Any other final thoughts, guys?
Nope. Just looking forward to more of both of these shows we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Both very good. Keeping me excited to tune in every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got soccer on the brain, so unless you want to talk about soccer,
Hit up Drake. Hit up Drake if you want to talk about the football.
Hit 'em up.
If you haven't, last
Put his,
recommendation
information
of the
on.
week, watch The Beckhams on Netflix. It is phenomenal. So damn good. I'm not going to go into
Yeah.
detail right now, but just trust me on it. If you want to hear us talk about it, hit us up on social media or drop a question in the reviews.
we'll do it. We'll fucking do it.
All right, everybody. Thanks. Anybody want to say?
Thanks for
First
sticking it with us. Yeah.
Thomas hates it. Keep that in, Tom. He's gonna edit his own. And you guys say, "Hey, thanks for singing with us." Audio got cut off. I'm gonna sign. He's just gonna like make a new ending.
The Joystick Show.
If you've enjoyed what you've been listening to, we'd really appreciate a follow, subscribe, and a review. Just how we like chatting with our friends, please share this with yours. Feel free to join the squad and follow us at JoyStickShow Joystick Show on Twitter and Instagram, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like submitting topics or questions to be discussed on future episodes, you can email us at joystick.show@gmail.com. As always, thank you, peace out, and make it a great rest of your week.